Sabe a sua?
Hã?
Sabe a sua? Eu já ia
Yes. Não, é minha. Acabei de jogar o copo sujo fora.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm just here just to say a few words. Today is it's an extra special Sunday morning. Today our hearts are filled with an extra love because we have a friend, a friend that's very dear to our hearts, that has contributed, is contributing, and will continue contributing. And she will share her wealth of knowledge and will guide the discussion today. But it's with full my heart, and I can say that our heart is full of love and immense gratitude to have Renata with us again to have the talk. Yeah, so I want to say thank you, Renata, and today is an extra. Today is an extra special Sunday morning for us.
Thank you.
I believe, and I'm happy that this moment will repeat more and more and more, and this house will be even fuller of love with your love. Welcome,
you. Oh my
friend.
gosh. That was really not fair.
You would recognize my presentation because I would be in tears like that.
Enjoy it. Enjoy it.
He drops the bomb and runs away.
See?
It's a surprise. Okay, Carol, I think you had something as well, right, about fundraising?
Yes. Let me just put it back.
Whew. I shouldn't have put on that makeup.
Maybe just leave it like this because since we already.
Yes.
So it's fine. Just leave it.
Okay. All right. So like Louise said, I'm coming back after 2.5 years, 3 years, I guess. And it's such a big pleasure to be back. It's such a gift. I'm really filled with gratitude to be here. Some of you have participated when I was speaking, some of you haven't. So fair warning, full disclosure, I have a little bit more humor than most of the speakers. Hopefully I won't offend anybody. If I do, please let me know. But whew, Louise really did a number on me. Okay, so we're gonna start with our opening text to calm down, mainly me, and then our initial prayer, and then we start with our presentation. So, oh man, my glasses, I forgot I can't read anymore. Okay, oh, there. Okay, so I chose from the book, The Way, the Truth, and the Life, text number 110 called Successive Lives. Do not wonder at my having said, you must be born again. And this is Jesus from the Gospel of John, chapter 3, verse 7. And then Emmanuel explains. Jesus' word to Nicodemus was clear enough. Deviating it to senseless interpretations may be understandable within the organized clergy. Attentive to the injunctions of the human struggle, but never amongst the minds who love the real truth. That was complicated, so let's explain better. Reincarnation is a universal law. Without reincarnation, earthly existence would be a vortex of disorder and injustice. Under its light, we are able to understand every pain-filled occurrence along our pathway. Humanity has not yet grasped the full extent of the divine mercy in the processes of redemption and readjustment. Among humankind, criminals are often condemned to cruel punishments, such as death or prolonged suffering. Providence, however, corrects lovingly. It does not put offenders in a damp, infected prison. It only says that those involved in tragic events must change their clothing of flesh and return to the stage of human activity so that they may redeem themselves. True magnanimous wisdom, not everyone who has made a mistake is a criminal, just as not every victim is pure and innocent. God does not see only the evil that results from a crime. He also knows the dark mechanism of every circumstance that led to that crime. The total criminal and the total victim are both unknown to humankind. The Father, however, sees the needs of his children and periodically reunites them by means of blood ties or the web of spiritually constructive commitments so that they may learn the law of love amid the difficulties and pains of destiny, and with the blessing of temporary forgetfulness of the past. Dear Father, full of love, full of mercy and patience with us, your children, still crawling in our pathway to evolution. We thank you for one more day incarnated. We thank you for all the learning opportunities we're going to have throughout today, during the week, and along our pathway to our last breathing moment. We thank Jesus, our Master and Guide, for showing us the narrow door, for guiding us through the pathway of goodness. We understand it's not always the easiest path, but we also know that it's the path that leads us to perfection. May we leave here today, Father, a little bit lighter than we arrived. May we have the opportunity to reflect on ourselves and hopefully work on our evolution, on our improvement. We thank all the spiritual brothers and sisters who take care of the spiritual home that is FSS. And we also thank everybody who is here physically and in spirit to work with us, to learn with us, and to interact with us. So be it. All right. So most of my talks are inspired by somebody or by situations, and today's was both. So this is a talk I've done. I did this maybe 3 or 4 years ago, but I revised it to add the elements that I feel like have changed in my life. Just like every time you read the same book, you get a little bit more or a little bit different of a message. You're like, oh, maybe I misunderstood the first time. So I revised it, and with this very cute picture, we're gonna get started. And I also would like to say that anybody who stands here to talk to you, we are just messengers. We are just parrots. Okay? We just study. It takes me between 12 and 20 hours to put together a talk of 1 hour. So what I'm doing here is just summarize a much more comprehensive content. So these talks are actually invitations. This is also why we put the bibliography, so everybody can go back to the source and get a little bit more. Like Spirit's books question. It's usually by theme, and as we know, Kardec is very persistent with kind of repeating himself to see if he gets the same answer. So the Spirit's book, read more of the questions that came before, the questions that came after. It's going to help enlighten a whole lot more. So this is but a small summary of the themes we talk about. But it's basically an invitation for us to go back home, reflect more, study more, and improve ourselves more.
And also, join us on Wednesdays where we are exactly studying this topic. Right?
Yes, exactly. It's right there with reincarnation. Okay, so today the reflection I'm proposing is we all are here, hopefully, because we believe in reincarnation. But the reflection is, do I feel grateful to be here? Or do I feel that this is just a burden, this is just suffering for me? So we are going to reflect based on contents from the Spirit's book, from the Gospel According to Spiritism, and from this book. We have it in the library. I'm sorry, Attila, it's not translated yet. I can translate it for you.
I appreciate it. Give me the summary.
Yes, okay. The energy of the chakras and the therapeutic power of gratitude, because gratitude is therapeutic. And we're going to reflect on how grateful we feel to be here reincarnated. Now, let's talk about here. What's the meaning of here?
This life?
All of them. Present moment. My suggestion personally, I'm the kind of person that I need practical exercises to help me organize my thoughts. So my suggestion, maybe during the week, make a list on a piece of paper, in your mind, on the fridge, anywhere. Here could mean many different things. It could mean here at FSS right now. Yes, I'm very thankful to be here. Here could mean Calgary. Yeah, not so happy about being here. Canada. Here could be with the family I've made for myself, or with the family I was born in. I'm happy with my wife, husband, my kids, but I have serious issues with my parents or brothers. So here could be so many different things. It could be my profession, or it could be my workplace. I might love my profession, but not necessarily be happy with my workplace. So my suggestion is for us to make a list of several dimensions, several aspects of our lives, and maybe one per day we can try and reflect how grateful we feel to be here, my workplace, here in Calgary, here at FSS, here with my children. Sorry, like I said, I like to joke. My daughter doesn't like the jokes that much. All right. So we are going to reflect first on reincarnation, and we're going to take a look at some questions from the Spirit's book. And then we're going to reflect on gratitude, and that's where the book, Energy from the Chakras, comes in, okay? So, here we go. What is incarnation? Not reincarnation, incarnation. Because like I said, Kardec is very persistent. He was an educator, a scientist, a very methodic person. So, we can see that in the Spirit's book. So, Kardec asks, what is the purpose of the incarnation of spirits? So, why do spirits need to have a physical body? And then, the spirits answer. God imposes incarnation as a tool to reach perfection. For some, it is a means of making amends. A means means a way of making amends. While for others, it's a mission. It's having the power, but also the control. When Jesus was slapped by the soldier in the temple, did he slap back? He just asked, "Why did you hit me?" So he didn't lower his head, but he didn't pay evil with evil. He replied with an answer to help the soldier reflect. If he did nothing wrong, why was he being assaulted? So that's meekness. It's having the power, but also the control, not paying evil with evil. So these two virtues make the apprentice feeling. And here, these two feelings will result in gratitude. And I have like a little scheme. It's not a graph. Can't think right now. It's a smart art in PowerPoint. But it's like 4 steps that we can use to practice any virtue, not just gratitude. This is like a recipe to practice any virtue, okay? To overcome any feelings of our ego that still make us suffer. For example, pride. Let's give the example of pride. Some of us still struggle a lot with pride. So the first phase, and like all this exercise is also proposed in the book, The Energy of the Chakras, okay? So the first phase is acceptance. So let's use pride as an example. So the first thing I will do is accept that pride is still present in my behavior. It still bothers me when somebody says they're better than me at something. Right? The second phase, after I accept, is to embrace. I embrace the pride because it's an energy created by me. It's my pride. But at the same time, it is a tool that I will learn to use to transform my pride into humility. So it's embrace as opposed to self-punishment. I'm prideful. I'm horrible. I'm terrible. I'm the worst human being on earth. How can I overcome it if I feel so hateful about myself? So it's to embrace it. So I accept that I have pride. I embrace that pride because it is in me. The next phase is experience, and experience in terms of actions, of living. So I experience the pleasure and joy in recognizing, not in the pride, but in recognizing that I am making the effort to transform the pride within me. Again, we can't change something we don't recognize. So feeling the pleasure that, hey, I was able to pinpoint that specific day when I felt that pride brought me down. Pride got the best of me. The next phase is awareness. So I am aware of all the effects that my happy decision to make efforts to overcome pride. Good me. Congratulations. Right? These 4 steps will invariably lead to gratitude for any virtue that I want to develop. Any. So first I need to accept that I still have that in me. As much as I would love to believe I'm perfect, not quite there yet. The second, I embrace it. It came from me. It's not something hateful. It's not something to be rejected. It's something to be embraced and understood. I need to understand, why do I still have that in me? So it's all those reflections that go through our minds. Like, why did I feel like this? Is it a specific person? Is it me?
Another good way that I have been practicing to understand those feelings, those negative feelings, is try to understand what they are there for. What is lacking on me? What they want to show, because we are not created to be empty. So if we don't exercise the humbleness, the pride will take over. But why the pride is there? It's trying to show me something. And so understand the good intention of the pride, which is try to be there, like show your value, whatever you are, but wrong direction is, well, I want to do that in, how can I say that, putting the other person like less than me, right? So that's
much better than that person.
Yes, I'm much better than that person.
Yeah.
Like I am better, but the other person is better too.
Why did they get the job if my resume is so much better?
Exactly. So that's the point, is trying to give you the value that you have achieved at that point, but also recognize the others have the same value. You know, and you have something to learn there to get even better.
Yep.
So that's, I guess is helping me so much in my embracing my imperfections, because I recognize that they are showing me something that is missing, a virtue that is missing. in me.
Perfect. And like you said, every egotistic feeling we have, like negative, jealousy, pride, envy, anger, wrath, all of those are basically just lack of the virtue. So they are basically a hole. They're empty. They are empty of virtue. As we start dropping those little actions there that help us develop that virtue, we start replacing that hole. We start filling that hole with the virtue. And again, it's not in 1, 2, 3, 10, or 100 incarnations. We'll take a bit more. But yeah, but it's, you know, it's like gears with a crank that you turn to move the gears, right? The first time you try, it's going to be really hard to get them moving. Our efforts are like the oil that will lubricate the gears. So the more efforts we make, the easier it's going to be to turn the gears. And the more we're going to be filling that hole that is lacking the virtue with the little bits of virtues that we are developing. It's not a one-time thing.
Yeah, and kind of related to that, it makes me think of, like, it's funny you said ego, because I was thinking exactly about how these, you know, the lack of virtue, the difficulties we have actually all stem from the ego. And I was reading, there's this meditation guy I like to follow, and he was talking about how when that happens, usually we try to shun the ego, right? Like, oh, like, look what you're doing to me. But actually, it's trying to protect us, because at the end of the day, we're displaying that jealousy or whatever because we need more love or acceptance or whatever. So he actually, and I thought this was very interesting, is like, talked about having self-compassion and trying to understand like how the ego is trying to protect you, and that act of self-love can even help you to develop the virtues that you need to develop. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, you need
take.
self-love. You really need self-love, because otherwise what we do is repass it, sweep it under the rug, and we create what Alidio calls the pseudo-virtues, pseudo-virtudes. We look like we have the virtue, but we don't. It's just because all the egotistic feelings are swept under the carpet. So, and sometimes it's a lot more work. It's harder to work on those that when we can actually recognize like a blatant, obvious issue. Because when you see something, again, if you recognize it, you can work to change it. But the moment you don't recognize or you sweep under the carpet, how can you fix it? Exactly.
Yeah.
We pretend it doesn't exist, so we don't have to work on it.
Yeah.
I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
I will just sit pretty and be better than everybody else, and if I don't get what I need, it's because God didn't give it to me.
Yeah, or because the others. Or
Yeah.
because the government.
Yeah. The government's a good one, yes. It's how my mother raised me.
Yes.
It's all
It's parents.
it's my childhood traumas. Okay, so what I just said is just like here in words for visual people to help retain more. So first phase, acceptance. Accept the instinctive manifestation as traces of the primitivity that we still bring within us. So our instincts were extremely important to us way back then. Survival instinct. like being afraid of dying, all our instincts, hunger, they were extremely important, that they were what kept us alive. But we still bring traces of them that we need to sublimize, to elevate, right? So this is what this is saying. So accept that those egotistic feelings are manifestations of that primitive me way back then. Second phase, embrace. Embrace the instinctive manifestations as energies to be transformed into essential energies, not to be crushed, to be destroyed, to be transformed, and not to be repressed or poured over. Poured over is not to indulge in that, to feel pleasure in that. I'm very nice, but don't step on my toes. If you step on my toes, so if I get angry, it's your fault. Sorry. So sometimes we pour ourselves over that egotistic feeling. We feel pleasure in feeling that. This takes work to change it. Third phase, experience. Experience the essential pleasure of making efforts to gradually sublimize, elevate the instinctive pleasures, transforming them into essential pleasures that elevate the spirit. I think the best expression I can use is peace of mind. An essential pleasure is that feeling of complete comfort with yourself, of mission accomplished, of receiving love, feelings, a favor, a gift from somebody. It's the complete peace of mind. Awareness. Become aware of the essential effects of the happy decision to sublimize the instincts. So happy decision here sounds a bit weird in English, but is the not euphoria, but pleasure. The pleasure we feel like I made the right satisfaction. I made the right choice. Contentment. That's the word I wanted. Contentment. I made the right choice. Right? And then they will inevitably lead to gratitude. And at last, thank God for His providence, for all the tools He gave to us, He put at our disposal. Thank life for all these situations. And thank ourselves, because we made the decision, for the opportunity of evolving by transforming instincts into essential feelings. So that's where the self-love comes in. Thank ourselves, like, good job me. I made a good decision that makes me feel comfortable with myself morally. That is priceless. All right. Comments, questions? I'm over time, as usual. Only by 5 minutes. It's been worse in the past. Does anybody want to comment? Because I don't see the kids yet, so we might have a couple minutes. No? I spoke too much, sorry.
Thank you, Hay.
Well, thank you all for listening to this very long-winded talk. And let's go for a final prayer before the passes. Dear Master Jesus, our teacher, dear spiritual guides of our FSS home, we ask that you protect us, that you keep investing on us, that you keep guiding us despite our shortcomings, despite our falls. Please keep helping us get back up, clean the dust, and try again. During this week, may our guardian angels remind us to reflect on all the different aspects of our lives, how grateful we feel in any of them, And may they help us understand what God's providence has given us. May they help us see the best solutions in each case, so that we can learn, so that we can help ourselves and our neighbors. Thank you, Father, for all the opportunities you give us. So be